There's a fundamental shift coming. 80% of realtors go out of business. Welcome back to another Building Block series. This is the series where we talk about the things that went wrong in our first startup, the lessons we learned, and the principles we're applying going forward. After my last failed startup, I decided that the next thing I did, be willing to dedicate at least a decade of my life to it. I always say, this isn't just work, it's my life's work. And I truly believe that. So we're going to talk about the state of the industry today, what I've seen over the last decade, and where I think the industry is going over the next decade. These are generalities, and keep in mind, they're just my opinion. Paul, a guy coming out of a failed startup, rebuilding his life, rebuilding a business. So the first thing we'll talk about is agency. There's a fundamental shift coming in real estate agency where I think you're going to see 80% of realtors go out of business. Probably going to see that during the next market shift, whenever that is. I have some thoughts on that, but we'll get to those later. They're going out of business because they don't provide enough value. They're door openers, they're disorganized. The barrier for entry has been so low that you get the wildest mix of people in there. And there are agents who do an incredible job and there are agents who aren't, and a bunch of agents will probably jump my shit about this. But when they go to co-op, they know that half the agents they co-op with when they sell a house that are on the other side of the transaction don't deserve the commission that they're getting. Taking that much of somebody's equity in a house is, you have to provide massive value to go say, hey, I'm worth 5% of your biggest asset, of the thing that has received all of the upside of your labor over the last 20 years. I deserve 5% of it. 6% of it, whatever it is. That's just a hard value proposition to win in a tight market, especially in a world where people are you see agents flaunting their wealth online all the time, and people are becoming very disillusioned with that when they can't even afford to buy or sell a house. It's what does the agent even do? And the agent does a lot. They do a ton. But that is the perception. And we've done it to ourselves in the industry. We have allowed the wrong people to come in and the wrong people to stay around. We have marketed wrong. And the marketing has been successful in ways that we don't imagine. That's my take on it. I think what you're going to see is the top 1% of single agents are going to do really well. They have positioned themselves as a platform for their community. And the community can come to them. They can help them find somebody to fix their home, help them find somebody to paint their home. They provide so much value to their people that they will never go out of business because they are the center of their community and they are the platform in which their entire community does all of their real estate stuff on. Those people never go out of business. In the same category as that, luxury agents will probably stay in business because if you're super wealthy and you're selling your home, the time trade-off just isn't there. You'd rather pay an agent that 2%, 3%, 6% split, however you want to say it, because it's just not worth your time. You know what I mean? So you still need a professional to handle the transaction just from a time value proposition. Those people are already doing fine. They're going to continue to do fine. And I think they're going to do even better when all this happens. The other thing you're going to see, elite real estate teams that do the same thing, but they do it on the team level. So people who are coming into the industry now, it's going to be really hard to be that top 1% by yourself. But some of these teams have built out, they operate on top of real estate platforms, which are really just data collection centers, but they do the same thing. So you can come to that team and they have an insurance guy and they have a transaction coordinator and they have a home repair guy and they have partnerships with all these professionals that they're taking fees off of, including insurance agents. And I think you're going to see the vertical integration of that. There's already companies doing that. They're doing a good job. The other 99% of the industry is probably heading that way. And it's only going to take a small shift in the market to push a lot of people out. MLSs will go out of business very quickly if that actually happens. Zillow and some other companies will rise to the top, and then AI will vertically integrate whatever is left. Whatever the teams haven't already integrated, AI will pick up the slack, do the rest of it, and real estate will become much more simple and straightforward. And at the end of the day, it is going to be better for the consumer. The better it is for the consumer, the better it is for the market. Our real estate market holds a massive amount of our economy's viability in it. The viability of the market is more important than the viability of the industry is what I would say. And I do not think that they go hand in hand. I do not think that is the same thing. It could have been, but we went the wrong direction on it. So that's the first thing, is that agency is changing, and I think it's going to change for the better. Might get worse before it gets better, but if you've had bad experiences with agents, it's already bad for you. You know what I mean? So like there is no changing. The other part of the industry is going to be investing. The landlords never win in history, ever. You can't look back on history one time and be like, yep, the landlords won. But what did happen is that the landlords pivoted and stayed viable in right situations. So creating a business from an investment standpoint that buys everything below that 69% principle so it can quickly pivot and is diversified throughout the market is super important. There's the saying, everybody's heard it. The Roman Empire didn't die, it became a church. The British Empire didn't die, it became a bank. You know what I mean? And like, I think that the landlords, the ones who are smart and are principled and are buying correctly and are diversified, they'll become something else. And I don't know what that is yet, but they will find a way to naturally pivot from one thing to another. There's a lot of bills coming due in the investment space as well. You know, same kind of thing as we talked about with agency. We have kicked the ball down the road on a lot of things, and there's so much social media going on with people just talking about how much money they make and showing off their fancy lifestyle that normal people are getting really upset with it. And I think the big question from that standpoint is, has the technology and wealth gap grown to the point where it's insurmountable, or do the landlords lose again? So those are the kind of the two pieces of the puzzle, right? The landlords have never won in the past, and you need to be prepared for that. Be prepared to pivot, and you need to be a landlord with a soul, and you need to do things the right way and try to not be part of that 1%, because it's the right thing to do, is to just run your business the right way, to have a business with a soul, and that's what you want to do. You want to build your business around that. But public perception might just beat the shit out of that one day anyways. Landlords never win, but also has technology, and as artificial intelligence grows, does that make the gap so insurmountable that there's just a new reality? But you can't invest on a new reality. You can only invest on the things you know. You know, you can't invest on anything other than that would be a guess, and you would just be guessing. So my guess is this, but we're not building a business or a future based on this. I think we're moving towards universal basic income. I think in 15 years, you won't even own a car. You'll rent it. I think the government's going to have to write checks. And I think that there is going to be some sort of big downturn because the bill comes due at some point. National deficit, pick anything. The bill comes due. And when that happens, I think that whatever is left of consolidating the market for agents will happen. And I think that investors will have to pivot pretty hard because I think that the populace is upset. That is my thought. I think it's a long way away. Several years at a minimum, maybe longer than that. But also people forget that AI is big business. So a downturn in the market would benefit AI in the way that we look to AI to pull us out of it. So of course, there's always the chance too that we get to general artificial intelligence and there is never any pivot again. And the robots save us, and we're living in a new reality after that, a golden age, which will be a sprint, and we'll still be on universal basic income because people will just be enjoying their lives while the robots do everything until they kill us all one day. That's why I'm nice to the robots. You know what I mean? You got to be fucking nice to them. Those are my thoughts on the industry. I could talk about this for hours. I tried to keep it very general. I didn't want to get into the weeds on this. I didn't want to be data specific. Just general thoughts on where the industry is going. Next time we talk, we're going to talk about the 4 stages of a market and the 4 stages of your business and how those things overlap. So thanks for tuning into Building Blocks. Follow me on YouTube, all that good stuff. Like, follow, share, send to a friend, send to your mama. Bah, bah, bah. All right, talk to you soon.